I think I asked you in the first one, like, would you still do what God wants you to do if you just there was only heaven, like there was only hell and there was no heaven? And like for me, that seems like the linchpin where it's just like without heaven, without you ascending to this other place, the whole thing just kind of
Well,
it
you
falls
keep
apart.
using spatial language, like you keep saying
Mhm.
location and place. It doesn't work like
Yeah.
that. Like you understand that from what you just said.
But I think that's how most people view it, and that's how I do view Christianity, where it is like it's a literal location. It might not be your body is there, but there's this thing called soul, which most Christians whatever believe in, and this thing called soul, it goes to this place, and you're there with
Yeah, but that's like it's such a decadent
everything.
version of Christianity. I don't know where you got it. It's
Decadent.
probably
That's a good
yeah,
word.
it's like a modern materialistic interpretation of Christianity. Like it's
Well,
nothing like what is intended for, or what like most people before like the last 200 years how they viewed it. I think it's a bit of a straw man version of it.
oh, and I'm not trying to like paint it negative. That's
No,
just
but
like
I'm
how I.
saying this is your
I I
interpretation.
I started reading the Bible. I think I read it when I was young, but I didn't really
Yeah.
like it didn't really enter my brain. And I haven't gotten to like those bits of it yet, so I'm probably misunderstanding it or whatever. But yeah, that's what I thought most people believe. Like that's what I thought priests believes when I hear them talk and stuff like that. I thought it was just like that
I
was
think a lot of modern
typical
people believe that.
Christian. I think I would go as far as say most.
That's possible. But that's why I'm saying
But
like I'm not happy with the state of Christianity right now. It's pretty bad in terms of the understanding of the teachings. It's like I think science
but so much of it confuses me if you don't have that bit. You know what I mean?
but what are you talking about? Like you're speaking about
Like
as if it's like I'm taking a spaceship shuttle to Mars and that's my heaven or something. Like, do you realize how ridiculous that sounds?
I swear most people I've met who are Christian, they view it not like a literal spaceship, but there's like like let's say a second realm that's like you don't see it. And when the body dies here, it passes on to this other realm, and then that's where you sort of go. And I don't even think that's like even just looking at like mythology of like old school like Greek and Hades and all that sort of stuff. I don't think that's even too much of a stretch from most things that I've seen people talk about with regards to like religious beliefs and deep level beliefs. But that being said, and I think the reason we had another combo is I think I was saying that I don't really understand like Gnosticism, and does that have some relation to it, or am I just like
Okay,
completely
so
off
the
path?
Gnostics, they're not exclusively Christian, but the Gnostics have this idea of like this reality, what we're living in now, is not important. They're all about the spiritual reality. So they kind of like do away with this, and for example, they would speak about that Christians even in that time, and I mean it's true for this time as well, would view God more as like a ruler over the universe. Like the way people,
Mm.
a lot of materialist religious people speak about God now, like he's some sort of guy who's like deciding things in the universe all the time, and he's only ruling over this universe. And so they're saying that's a false idea of Christianity and of religion, and you must discard with that, and you must like ascend. But what they do is they go all the way to the extreme where they completely discard the body, like they would not take care of themselves at all. And so
Uh,
that's more of a Gnostic idea. And Gnosis is this idea of knowing. It's like this higher knowing, like they would have this knowing that the average person wouldn't. So there's quite dark twists to Gnosticism, but that's basically it. Like it's a lot different.
wow,
Whereas
okay.
what we have now is like a reverse Gnosticism. Like now we absolutize this reality, and a lot of religious people do that. So I agree
Material.
with you. Like this is one of the reasons I walked away from faith, is because I realized that one science textbook annuls their faith like this. I just
Mm.
realized that the scientific worldview is also quite weak. It's just these two are opposing each other, but I think they're both missing a lot. Whereas I think a traditional symbolic Christian worldview that's like read as the early church fathers read it have a much wiser and a much more profound
Interesting.
understanding of reality than what
Interesting.
yeah
So I think I said to you by DM that I've started reading a bit of Carl Jung,
yeah
and so Jung, and I might be getting this wrong, so Jung experts because there's some people who are into Young, like Carl Young, they're like into him, like they dedicate
yeah
their
yeah
life to like
yeah all the way
work.
all the way. It's like a religion.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is.
From what I've read from him is, and this could be wrong, but it seems very similar to this Joseph Campbell idea, who was like, Joseph Campbell was like,
Yeah, yeah, I know just
I
Kim.
would call him almost like Carl Jung light. Like he was like, basically he viewed things that like, there's all these different sort of like meta structures that people have in their mind, and they become sort of like archetypes, although he doesn't use archetypes, that's a Carl Jung thing. But like people have this similar journey, and like everyone sort of goes through this journey, and he called it the hero's journey. And a lot of writers, they like base their
Yeah, yeah,
stories
like
around.
Star Wars.
Yeah,
Star Wars used it
I think
explicitly, huh?
yeah, probably. I think one of his things was like almost all stories do it in some form,
Hmm.
and it's like really hard to sort of come away from it. But yeah, like Star Wars is like the classic, like often a lot of people use that example where it's like you, I don't like there's like you set out on an adventure and there's something that spurs it, and then there's like a death moment and a rebirth where you come back to life, which is often symbolic rather than like a physical rebirth. And then like you come back, but there's like all these different steps to it or whatever. But it seems like Carl Jung was like saying something similar, where it's like that sort of like there's these great archetypes, and it seems like they're like he's almost saying they're more real than what we consider as real,
Yeah,
even though the way we consider things being real, they might not necessarily be real in that way. But like you can look at different, like ancient stories, like Gilgamesh and stuff like that, and it shares a lot of similarities with other stories that are like far off and different places and probably didn't have that same connection. It, yeah, interesting. What I was gonna say though is, what was I gonna say? It seems to me that the way that you view Christianity or like religious spiritual beliefs is more similar to the way that I view it on like the Buddhist side, because like in Buddhism, there's this a lot of people, most I would say, are like very into like rebirth and karma, and like that's like a very important aspect where it's like the things you're doing now are going to affect your future lives. Whereas I take a more, maybe this is an ignorant or naive view, but I view it more like rebirth and karma is like something in this one life, and it's not actually something that happens in the next life, but like awakening or becoming enlightened or whatever, it's like this process of realizing that you're constantly being reborn. Like every moment is you're different from an hour ago than you are now. And like the moment of awakening is kind of realizing that this is just like a consistently changing thing that happens. And it's not about actually like when I die, I'll wake up and I'm my dog or whatever it might be. I'm not actually living for a different life. And then um developing enough merit points or karma or however you want to refer to it to then ascend and become enlightened. That's how I view it. Not a lot of people view it that way. But that seems like it's almost tangentially similar to the way that you view it. I'm not trying to like say that is how you view it,
hmm.
but more of a question, but it might
Ah,
come out
okay.
like I'm insinuating
Well,
it.
yeah,
So
I
like
think
in your belief, is it more like it's almost all symbolic? It's like a spiritual journey that you go through, and like the kingdom of heaven can be here right now if you just do something
it is
potentially
here in that
spiritual
sense. Yeah, I think you can
yourself or whatever.
definitely psychologically it works. Speaking about heaven and hell here, if you do good deeds, if you behave according to truth, then I think you are going to see heaven on earth in that sense. But I also think beyond this reality, and you spoke about archetypes already. I think archetypes give you a glimpse inside of a deeper reality. Um,
Mm.
I think also at the same time, it's like, I told you I also did ayahuasca, like DMT. And
Oh yeah, that's crazy. That's so crazy.
anyway,
Ayahuasca for me, it's crazy. So
yeah,
long,
it's
like the
crazy. It is
because
crazy.
I've done DMT and like I don't think it's the same, but that it's
It's the
15
same
minutes and it,
substance, the active substance.
yeah.
But
I say
anyway,
I don't think it's the same. I think it's different when you take it that way.
yeah,
Like it's like a different thing that happens in your brain or something.
yeah.
Anyway, I don't know.
But to go on with that is that a lot of people that do that, they come back being like, okay, what I just experienced is more real than what I have here. And I do believe that there's a truth to that idea of there being a sort of higher reality above us with perhaps more
Mm.
dimensionality than we have here, and us somehow not going there physically. So we need to escape this language because we're still speaking about going places. you're not going there. Like you're escaping time, you're escaping space. So the language we use right now will never be able to describe it. The language that comes closest is this symbolic language that you're referring to, religious texts, which is why I can read different religious texts and it can resonate with me. I think it's why you said that at some point all the Alan Watts stuff made sense, because I think your brain, when you were doing these drugs or when you were having your experience, was finally not attuned to this reality, but it was finally
Mm.
breaking out of that frame, breaking through the filters, and realizing that there is something beyond this. That's all I'm saying. And I think that a Christian
Mm.
worldview can align with that, and it does so for me. And so, heaven, yes, in a way it's psychological, and in a way that um, I just described, it can be more than that, where I think that I don't know exactly how it works. I think it's stupid to speculate about it because it's like we don't have the language to speak about. But I do think there is
Mm.
life beyond this life that we're experiencing right now. And I think what we're experiencing now is a fraction of that. And I can't prove that to you. That is based on experience, and that is
Sure.
faith.
Yeah, sure. And I'm definitely not trying to be like, show me the proof. Like I'm not at that level. I'm definitely like, I think when I was younger, it was more of like, ooh, fucking show me the evidence or whatever.
Yeah, and
And
I'm not
now I'm
trying to
more like,
convert you either, just so you know.
sure. Yeah, and I don't think you are, but I just want to give that caveat where I'm not trying to like
Yeah.
attack or belittle your belief or anything like that. Fuck, what was I gonna just say? Um, what was I gonna just say?
I do have to
Yeah, I
wrap up
guess
in
one
the
of the
next
parts that I
minute, so just so you know, I have to wrap up in like
yeah, sure, but
coming
like
three
five
minutes, so
minutes
you
or like
can.
okay.
Yeah.
I guess that is one that I do get confused about is like the difference where you say that it will like after there will be an afterlife, but it's not physical. And I guess for me, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around what that could mean as I'm encapsulated inside a physical system. And
Yeah.
even though it is kind of weird because my brain exists inside my mind or whatever, and my mind is like prior to my brain, and my mind isn't really a physical structure, so it is kind of weird.
Yes.
So I can kind of get it on that level, and I can't it's hard for me to make the leap of like what that would mean that doesn't invoke the heaven image of what I've already sort of like
Yeah.
crystallized in my mind, like the way people believe it or whatever.
I think you need to
That makes
break from
sense.
your frame, to be honest, because if we keep saying afterlife, or it's not
Mm.
that. It's not after. Like it's not how it works. And if you think that that's how it works, then you're still inside of space and time. Like I think you've had a glimpse of that reality, a reality that is beyond space and beyond time. I just think we're still using our materialist language to understand it, and that's why we're not understanding it properly.
Mm. Yeah, one of the interesting things about Buddha is when you actually like go into the depths of like what he was explaining, he very rarely explains what it is to be enlightened. Like he'll use words like the unconditioned and the like free from phenomena and stuff like that. But it seems that it's like if you try to pinpoint it super closely in a dictionary
Yeah,
explanation, then you're going to cling to that and you'd be like, oh, I understand it because I've got this concept. When
exactly.
it's kind of before concepts, it's this thing that it's like the moment you look, you see it, and then the second you're trying to like, oh, is this it? You start conceptualizing, and it's not a conceptualization of something; it's experiencing just the profound nature of reality before conceptions even exist.
Yes,
If that makes
exactly. You're
sense.
getting it. You have to break frame. And I think you can have these realizations in deep meditations, and you don't have to rationalize them. You can just let them be. But I think that,
For sure. And I think that's the way you have to do it, especially if you're someone like me who rationalizes a lot, that it's hard to break free from
yeah,
that
let it
sort
go.
of
We just have to let it go.
nature of it.
And then you can
I
really,
do, for me, yeah, it does still, but like for me, then it's like, well, then I would want to live forever. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, it
I
doesn't
know
matter.
what you mean
I think,
exactly, but you would be outside of time. That's what I'm trying to say. So, like, you're still stuck in this frame of, I want to live in time forever. But I'm saying that you go beyond
yeah,
time. And that's not you exactly. Like, you lose your identity. I think, don't you realize that you're not your identity? Like, you already know you're not your thoughts. You told me that before. Well, you're not your body either. So don't
for
absolutize the
sure.
body. It's a losing game.
And that's one that it always confuses me with the Christian worldview because I actually don't think in terms of like soul. Like I don't know if I believe in a soul, and I do think that like I'm not this identification I have. But then there is this like sort of even whenever you try to explain it, it almost like is the worst way to do it. But it's like this like it's like once you view it, like you view this like almost crystallized little creature thing inside you, and then you realize, oh, that doesn't even exist, and it's just pure emptiness. But it is still like you're the awareness of this emptiness. Or you're not the awareness, you're like viewing the awareness, like even the fact of awareness.
Yeah,
It's like
awareness of awareness.
it's like experience is happening because things exist, but you're, I don't know, it's kind of hard to crystallize, especially I think if you got to go. But for me, that makes it even harder to like conceptualize my previous understanding of Christianity, because I always thought people believe there is this soul and there's the thing, and then that's the thing that continues on after you exist. But it seems like what you're saying is so much closer to what I understand
Yeah.
of like
Drop
my
everything you think
experience.
you know. Drop everything you think you know about Christianity. And if you want to read the Bible, read it completely open-minded and try to think before you read it like, oh, they're actually not referring to what I think it actually is. Like it's not literal, especially New Testament. Old Testament is much more law-based, like you said already. But
Mm.
like try to read it as you would a mystical Buddhist text. That's all I'm gonna say for now. But we can catch up later when
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's a good place to end it. I always love chatting with you. It's
me too,
always
man.
good. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Thank you. I
Have a
think I
good night.
should let you get on with it.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers. Good morning.
See you. Good morning.